ARIA the Natural Part 22 Blu-ray Review. Please note that this review contains some spoilers for ARIA the Natural. Also note that the series has been released in 2 parts, but we will review as one here. ARIA the Natural is a 2026 episode 2006 anime series based on the manga series of the same name from mangaka Kozoi Amano. It is a continuation for the first series, ARIA the Animation, and tells the story of Akari Mitsunashi, a young woman who is training as an apprentice gondolier, referred to as Ondines, in the scene in Neo Venetia, which is covered in vast oceans. Neo Venetia is a city of the planet Aqua, formerly known as Mars. So the story takes place in the 24th century. The city is based on Venice, taking key inspiration for the architectural stylings and being a harbor city with narrow canals and plenty of rail lanes and gondolas for travel. Naturally, it maintains the atmosphere and visuals from its predecessor, providing an almost ethereal air to the proceedings, whether the scenarios presented are simple day-to-day insights into the cast and their lives, or more fantastical offerings that peel back the veneer of Aqua. For those who enjoyed the character-driven storylines of the first anime, this very much continues in the same vein, following Akari and her friends as they grow both as apprentice gondoliers but also as young adults. Whereas the first season worked to introduce the fairly expensive cast of characters in their respective weather-guided companies, this season instead sets the viewer off with these characters as they explore more of Neo Venetia's traditions and also its supernatural underbelly. The initial episodes cover Neo Venetia's carnival, which is President ARIA mysteriously disappeared and a mysterious masked man known as Casanova is introduced and later revealed as an important figure. There's also a fun excursion involving Akari, Alice, and I, whom Akari met in the very first episode. It is staying at ARIA company for the carnival, being sent on a treasure hunt after coming across a box inside a statue. During the hunt doesn't result in the physical reward, it instead takes on a more philosophical meaning for the trio as they discover the wonder of what Neo Venetia has to offer. Another early highlight for the season comes for an episode focused on a meteor shower, with Akari, Aika, and Alice inviting new character, AI, a senior but youthful Luke gnome, a term referring to those who work underground regulating Aqua's gravity, so that is the same as manhomes. After having lunch with him, the result is that Aika develops a crush with yet some lovely spectacle as the group find a great spot on the roof of the Himiya company building. ARIA the Natural continues to drive key narrative themes throughout its segments, including the bond between mentor and pupil, and Akari's saving ties to Neo Venetia's fantastical foundations. A great example for this season comes from a 2-part episodes, in which the first segment has Akari and Alicia visit a shrine island to pay tribute to its fox deity. The attendant warns the two not to follow any fox spirits if they are encountered. During the scenario plays out after an accidental separation, and Akari almost ends up joining the unending procession. The second segment focuses more on Akari and Alicia's mentor-pupil bond as they venture out on the getaway to find Spring, which leads the pair to an abandoned freight station, and then along its derelict tracks, long since overrun by nature. The imagery here is fantastic, building upon an idea of nature taking back from technology, further exemplified drawn the striking imagery of a cherry blossom tree growing within the abandoned train car, bursting up blooming to life when President ARIA climbs an adjacent power line. It's a wonderful moment that brings these two together, as Alicia discusses the importance of making mistakes is serendipity, unplanned fortunate discoveries, which happens to draw on ARIA storylines. And always had a lot of time as a viewer for the costumes and traditions of Neo Venetia, which the series does a wonderful job of conveying. A highlight here is a day known as Festa del Boccolo, which sports a tradition where a man gives a single rose to his beloved lady, hence the translation of red rose plum. This episode also fleshes out Akatsuki, an apprentice salamander, those who help maintain Aqua's climate via floating buildings gathered above Neo Venetia, who often teases Akari with the nickname Sideburns. It is often paired with her in these segments, even being where her very first customer as appeared in the previous season. He spends the episode looking for the perfect rose to give his crush, Alicia, with Akari tagging along to help, learning alongside the viewer about Festa del Boccolo. And whilst hijinks ensues and humorous failure for Akatsuki, he decides to give a rose to Akari instead, with appreciating the solitary rose more than Alicia, who ends up with a whole gondola of them. The supporting cast also gets some segments to shine, including an episode focusing on the aftermath of the barbecue accident that leaves Aika to need to change hairstyles, which remains for the rest of the season. The significance of said hairstyle came from a desire to emulate her idol, Alicia, and it leads to her mentor, Akira, laying down the hard truth. It should never be Alicia but must forge her own path as the best auntie she can be. The following episode sees Aika comes to terms with new appearance. Reluctant to see anyone at first, strong with encouragement, she accepts both her new appearance and attitude to becoming an undine in her own terms. It's a straightforward character, but he's handled very nicely thanks to the strengths of Aria's characters and their respective relationships. Towards the end of the season, we see the three water fairies, Akira, Alicia, and Athena, give an important task to the trainees to host a Redentor houseboat for the Festa del Redentor, a real Venetian event in which fireworks play an important role, which in universe marks the start of Autonomy of Venetia. The episode also provides the viewer with a callback to the first episode of the season. Asakuri worries that she hasn't heard from Ai for a while but invites her to Aqua for Redentor, while she, Alice and Aika get to work planning and decorating the houseboat, putting invitations together and sending them out to the friends they made up to this point in the story, including Woody, a Sylph who used a bike to fly supplies all over the city, Mr. Mailman, who Akari assisted early in the season when his gondola was being repaired, Akatsuki, Ai, the three water fairies, and also Grandma, the now retired legendary water fairy and founder of the ARIA company. It's a nice episode that rounds up a lot of the characters that Akari, Aika, and Alice have helped so far on their path to become Undines. In terms of animation, the series features a lot of aesthetically pleasing backdrops. There's also some nice attention to detail with uniforms and designs. The cats feature an array of expressions, and Aria's the cat's distinctive design all work quite well here also. The series was again directed by Junichi Sato, a director with a great body of work, including underrated series like Lucky, Kaleido Star, the Comedy Surgeon Frog franchise, and also both seasons of Amanchu, a series based on a manga also by Kozue Amano. Sato and his team at Helm Filmmaker have again conveyed the atmosphere of the Neo Venetia setting well, alongside the more fantastical segments which have a backbone in Japanese mythology. It is worth noting that the series isn't one-one with the manga in terms of chronology, with the series instead opting to flow by its own means, and being based on the mostly segmented nature of the source material, it comes together nicely. ARIA Natural features a similarly varied and pleasant score, composed once again by acoustic group Choro Club and Takeshi Seno, which fits the anime effectively. It is a real part of the series' identity. The OPs this time around are Euphoria by Yuki Makino, episodes 1 to 15, 18 to 26, a return for the first season Undine by Yui Makino, episodes 16 and 17. The 80s, meanwhile, are Natsumachi by Roundtable feature Nino, episodes 1 to 15, Smile Again by Erina Hasuki, episodes 16 to 25, and also returning for the first season, Rainbow by Roundtable feature Nino for episode 26. The new offerings are nice listens, and the callbacks to the first seasons are also thematically. MVB Entertainment has released the season across two parts, and the UK replicating Nozomi Entertainment's release in the US, with the first part containing episodes 1 to 13, and the second containing episodes 14 to 26. The series is presented in its original 4:3 presentation and includes both the original Japanese language and English dub as options, with both 5.1 and 2.0 available for English. I once again stuck with the original Japanese audio as my preferred listen to choice, and the disc offering both yellow and white subtitles as options. Like with the first season, a selection of extras is also included here, with part 1 featuring interviews with Junichi Sato and Yui Makino, a feature on the soundtrack and ARIA and the World of Sound, and cast reflections on the ARIA the Animation Part 2, features roundtable discussions, an English cast commentary, more cast reflections on ARIA the Natural, and another discussion with director Junichi Sato. It's a nice selection of content far exceeding the usual limited selection anime home media tends to get nowadays. Looking at the picture quality, ARIA the Natural maintains the style established in the first season, featuring a lot of visually pleasing backdrops, combined with a softer overall finish that still allows the colors and imagery to pop. A technical note for the release is that the both sets of episodes are spread across 3 discs, making for 6 overall this season. To conclude, ARIA the Natural continues to deliver a wonderful series overall that builds upon its characters, settings, and thematically qualities. The longer season provides some real highlights to enhance the quiet and yet endearing atmosphere that no other anime to the date has replicated in quite this way. 9 out of 10.